Hey everybody, so we already did criteria 6 and 7 videos. This video is going on to A14 digital laws where you're starting to do your lessons, okay? You've already done a wealth of reading. I know 14 is a beast, y'all. You've done a wealth of reading. I hope you have learned a lot about digital citizenship. It is a very relevant and timely uh, topic that we're doing. Now you're kind of switching from learning about this to actually designing learning experiences about this. So for each of the 4 areas of digital citizenships, you are going to be creating 2 lessons, but you only have to implement 1. So the lessons are going to mirror one another. It's going to be a student lesson on laws, rights, and responsibilities, and a teacher's lessons on laws, rights, and responsibilities. Honestly, my hope is that you actually implement the student ones, and maybe you can have the teacher ones on your website for teachers to go through as they can. But depending on your job, some of you are already coaches. Your learners are more likely to be teachers. So for the first one, you are designing a lesson on digital tools and resources in the following ways. When interacting with others online, how do you know who you are interacting with? What is your digital identity online? And what are best practices for what you put online? And then legal, intellectual, copyright laws, and ethical, what is cyberbullying, trolling? Now, this is going to look very different from those of you who teach lower grades and then those of you who teach high schoolers. So this is going to look very, very different depending on what you teach. I wanted to show y'all one of your cohort members' lessons. So this is Nadine's. I have her permission to show this to you. I actually had this assessment in EDTL 503 when Nadine took it with me. So she's already done this assessment, but it was too much for 503. So with your cohort, I moved it into this class instead. So you can see that her website is wonderfully laid out for just information about all of the things that she learned. She properly cites everything. And then she goes into her lessons and all of these lessons that she went through. Most importantly, and I think she has it here, is she has photographs, and maybe she put it somewhere else. She has photographs and times and dates that she implemented the lessons. So that's going to be very, very important for when you present to ISTE. Now you can see that she created a lot of things herself, like grading rubrics and lesson presentations, but then she also found stuff on the internet, videos and such, that she used, and of course at the end properly cited them. So let's go back to this and what you are doing. So your first is laws, rights, and responsibilities for both students and teachers. Again, they can mirror one another, but it needs to have different focus, but you only need to implement one of them. You design both of them. The next is on digital security, and we are talking about digital identity and investigating a new digital tool or app with your students to discover if the class should use it. Now, I want to pay particular attention to this one because there is a standard that is difficult to meet. One of the criteria that I find is difficult to meet, and let me go up here and show you where it's one that says you co-learn with students about, where is it? Hang on a sec, let me find. Here we go. So it's criteria 13, collaborate and co-learn with students to discover and use a new digital resources and diagnose or troubleshoot technology. We do this 3 times throughout the program. However, it is not easy to document. So I really wanted to highlight that here when you do this lesson, and I'm probably making y'all dizzy, I'm sorry. When you do this lesson and you implement this lesson, I want you to have that in the back of your mind. You are going to be, section 2, you're going to be discovering a new app or tool with your students. So when you actually implement this lesson, I want you to get some screenshots or some photos and really write your narrative the day it happened so that you can tell the ISTE reviewers, okay, my high school social studies class had never used Skype in the classroom and I've never used Skype in the classroom, so we are going to investigate this tool and see if we want to use it. That may not be the best example. Think about virtual reality. If you've never taken a virtual reality tour to China and you're teaching about China, and Nearpod has a wonderful virtual reality tour of China, but you've never used this and your students have never used this. Get photos, get videos if you want to, and really show how you are investigating this tool with your students. Most importantly, you kind of hope that something goes wrong, that you got to figure it out with your students. That's what ISTE likes to see in this criteria. So don't think it's a bad thing if something goes wrong and you and your students have to figure it out together. That's really what they're wanting to see here. So that is your first 2 lessons. I'll go ahead and do 3 and 4 now, although they're not due yet. Communication and etiquette is the 3rd. This is where you're going to do a virtual meeting with expert or students, which kind of ties in with what we're doing in 13 as well. Method to my madness, I promise. And then the last is digital literacy, where you're going to talk about how to critically examine online resources. That's where we're talking about like fake news, something like that. And again, all of this is going to look very different depending on the grade that you teach. So one thing I do want to say is I know you are all on scripted curriculums, and implementing these sort of lessons can be difficult whole class. So if you have a club that you moderate, or you have kiddos that will volunteer to come before school or during activity or during recess, you can implement these in small groups. I am perfectly fine with that. If you can do a couple of them full class, I think that's fabulous. You know, if you want to do a virtual reality to China because you're already doing a China lesson, then sure, do it full class. But if you need some of these to be small groups, I am absolutely fine with that. Most importantly, get those photos, get those videos, and let me know if I can do anything to help. Have a great day. Bye.